Good morning. It's a Saturday morning, first day of autumn here in Australia, and I'm just leaving Frankston. I'm driving to a small town about an hour and a half away called Warburton, and the reason I'm going there is because just outside of Warburton there's a start of a climb up Mt Donna Buang. And that's the plan today, is to try and get up that mountain. Now, it's not one of the 7 sort of recognised cycling peaks in Victoria, which actually I can't find any reason why it's not in that grouping, because it's a reasonably significant climb. It's 16 kilometres and you climb about 1,200 meters. I'll put the profile and some of the detail up while I'm talking. And if I'm trying to do a comparison, this might sound a bit weird, but I'm going to compare it to Alpe d'Huez, which is the famous climb in France that they use in the Tour de France a lot. So Alpe d'Huez has got some slightly steeper sections, and it's slightly less distance, so the average grading is a little bit higher. But it's not a million miles away in terms of, you know, meters climbed, distance that you climb for. So it's going to be a reasonably significant effort for me, this. So the climb I did last week, which was the one in 20, took me 30 minutes. This one, I reckon, is going to be an hour and 45, certainly somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours. So, you know, a lot more climbing for me today. So we'll just see how we go. But once we get on the climb, I'll do a bit of filming. I'll talk a little bit more about how I figured out that timing that I'm likely to do, and a few other things about the climb. So I will see you shortly. Okay, at Warburton, the Warburton Bakery to be precise, and it's pretty popular. So queued up, got my coffee, got my white chocolate and raspberry muffin that I'm sure I'm going to earn very shortly, and after this quick pit stop we're off up the hill. Well, that didn't take very long. About 300 meters from the cafe, we're on the climb. So I'm not exactly warmed up here. Anyway, trying to control my effort here, bearing in mind how long it's going to be for. I'm trying to keep below 200 watts. And hopefully, at that level, my heart rate will be about 155, which is where it's probably sustainable. That's the plan anyway. Now, apart from the gradient, the other issue that I've seen when I've looked at the reviews of this climb are March flies, which is quite appropriate given that this is the 1st of March. I've got no idea what a March fly is. Hopefully I don't find out, but they don't sound very nice. So apparently whenever you stop, there's an incentive not to, I guess, but whenever you stop they swarm you and they bite. And apparently the bites are quite painful. And one guy even posted that for the last 2 or 3k up the hill, about 6 or 7 of them just followed him, swarming around his head and biting him. He said he'd never known anything like it before. So let's, as I say, hope I don't encounter them. It's a pretty ride though, again with the, just like in the Dandenongs, The sun coming through the gum trees. First stop. I've been hanging out for the Rainforest Gallery, which, as I understand it, is about 7k into the climb and at a junction where you turn onto a smaller road that goes up to the summit. Anyway, I just gave up and stopped. It's pretty unrelenting. I actually have forgotten what a 5% gradient looks like. I've been coming around the corner and looking at what's ahead of me and thinking, oh, that must be 8%. And the computer keeps on telling me it's 5%. So I've now checked where I am. I've got 867 meters to go to get to this junction with 80 meters of climbing. So that's pretty close to 10%, nearly 9%. So this next little stretch, once I get going, is going to get my heart rate up again. So initially I was keeping my heart rate below 160, but I'm in my lowest gear, and once it gets above about 6%, I just can't keep my power down below 200 watts, otherwise I'd stop. And that then pushes my heart rate over the 160. So my Garmin reckons that my FTP, or functional threshold power, is 201 watts. And in principle, that means that I should be able to sustain 201 watts for an hour. I suspect it would probably be nearer 30 minutes. So the problem is, once I start going above 200 watts, that's when it's just not sustainable for me, and I'm not going to get to the top. But there's not much I can do about it at the moment, because the gradient's just too much for me to keep me in the right sort of range. I can only hope that at some point it's going to ease off a bit, because I'm sure the overall gradient is about 5 or 6%. And I've had quite a lot of 8s and 9s. So at some point it must ease off. Okay, I made it to the Rainforest Gallery. Now I can see where all the cars are that have been passing me on the way up. They're all parked up, obviously going for a walk in the rainforest, which I shall do now and take my bike. Hopefully there's enough room. Okay, so there's quite a walk actually, which I won't do with my cycling shoes on and the bike, but I'm going to try and go along this elevated walkway, which is the yellow thing, if you can see it on the little map here. Let's see if you can see down below. Some people walking down there. Beautiful. And a nice excuse to get my breath back. Okay, before I set off again, there's supposed to be lyrebirds up here. I've got no idea what a lyrebird is, but I can hear some birds. I'm not sure whether or not they're the lyrebirds. I've got on a bit of a relatively not too steep part, so at least I've got the breath to talk. I compared this
Climbed to Alp d'Huez right at the beginning of the video. I climbed Alp d'Huez, I think it was 2013. I've got a little memento back home which I'll insert into this video. I wrote on the bottom the date I climbed up it and the time it took me, and I think it was an hour and a half. What that doesn't tell you, however, there's 21 switchback climbs on Alp d'Huez, and every one of them has got a plaque with the name of a winner of the Alp d'Huez climb in various Tour de France editions. So I stopped at every corner, ostensibly to take a photo of every plaque, but in reality I would never have made it up the climb if I hadn't stopped. So that hour and a half is actual elapsed time while moving. It was probably nearer 2 hours with all the stops. So I guess, given that this is a little bit further, this climb, but a similar sort of altitude gain, that's why I was thinking there was no way I was going to get under an hour and a half, and it was probably more likely to be nearer 2. So unfortunately, assuming I do make it, I'm probably going to be proved to be quite accurate with my estimates. It would have been nice to get close to an hour and a half, but I'm just being unrealistic in terms of my fitness level. Just had quite a big bird with a long tail walk across the road in front of me. Of course, I didn't have the camera switched on, so you'll have to take my word for it. So I'm now speculating, was that one of the mythical lyrebirds? I must check out when I get back to see what a lyrebird looks like. Right, Garmin Climb Pro has split this climb into 3 sections. The first one was up to the junction where the rainforest walk was. The second one has ended here where there's a road that splits off. So this is where I've just come up, and the sign says 1 kilometre to the summit. My Climb Pro is actually telling me it's 1.3, and I've got 93 metres of climbing to do at 7%, and it looks quite steep just towards the end. So I've just got to save some energy for the final little push. Hopefully you'll either see me next time going up that final little push, or if I haven't even got the energy to get the GoPro going, you'll see me when I'm at the top. The camera probably doesn't do this justice, but this is pretty steep. Last hard section, I hope. Okay, here we are, observation tower. This is the end of the climb. Made it. Woo-hoo. Oh. I don't think I'm going to be running up that tower like them, but I am going to get up it because I'm sure the view is pretty spectacular. So here we are, proof. The summit, and my 1 hour 45 minutes estimate was freakishly accurate. Number 4 on the screen is the climb. 1 hour 45 minutes 32 seconds. On top of the observation tower now. Not sure what I'm looking at, but it's pretty. Time to head back down. So, not only is it good news that I got up the climb, but there's none of these March flies. So, good news all around. Okay, let's see what some of the descent is like. Okay, made it back. An hour and 45 minutes to get up the climb and 25 minutes to get back down it. And then, surprise, surprise, in the car park, a Thai food stall, which I am going to indulge in. Time for a wrap up on that Donna Buang climb. Really nice climb. Definitely recommend anybody to do it who hasn't done it so far, and hopefully I can get back and do it again at some point. Yeah, the climb itself is nicely sort of sheltered by the trees, so you're in the tree cover most of the time. So it was quite a warm sunny day, but I didn't overheat it any time because you're in the shade. So it was okay going up, and coming down the road surface is really good, much better than in the Dandenongs last week, where I was sort of going through corners and crashing through potholes, and it was actually quite sort of disconcerting. Whereas the road surface was really good, and the corners generally are nice sweeping corners where you can see your exit point, which means that you can sort of keep your speed on without having to brake too hard because you don't know what's coming up. So yeah, all around really nice climb to do. I mean, it seemed hard work when I was going up there, but I think part of that is I'm just not mentally ready for long periods of being uncomfortable climbing up a hill on a bike. I think physically I can actually probably do a little bit more. When I look at my stats in terms of my average heart rate and the power that I was putting out, I think I could actually do a bit more, but at the time I felt as though I was really being stressed. And wasn't sure whether or not I'd be able to keep that level of effort up. So yeah, that's just something I think that comes with just doing more climbing. I think you just get used to it. So I've got a couple of climbs planned for about another week in the Alps. One of them is going up to Falls Creek from Mount Beauty, which I think should be doable. It's a long climb, 30k, but it's not too steep. The second one, Mount Hotham, is a much more difficult climb, and I'm actually not so sure I'm going to be able to do that one, so we'll just see how I feel after I do the Falls Creek one. So yeah, so that's where things are at now, and all being well, I'll make another video of the Falls Creek climb in a week or so's time.